In this video, we're going to look at how to identify the conjugation of a verb based on its dictionary definition. You'll see down the left-hand column, we have our conjugations, first, second, third, special subgroup third IO, and fourth. Across the top of the columns, you'll see the titles for the first two principal parts. The first part of the dictionary definition will be the present tense, first person singular. And then the second word, the second principal part of the dictionary definition, is your infinitive. The most important one to look at first when identifying the conjugation of a verb is the infinitive. Generally, this almost always ends in the letters RE. But the letter that appears in front of the RE is really what's going to clue you into the conjugation. If you see a long A, that's when you've got a first conjugation verb. A long E will indicate second conjugation. A short E will indicate third, which also means third IO, because that's a part of third. If it's fourth conjugation, we'll see a long IRE. Sometimes, however, you also should check the first principal part. Generally, these almost always end in the letter O. But sometimes there's another letter in front of the O that will either help you identify or help you confirm the conjugation of the verb. For first conjugation and third conjugation, there really isn't anything in particular that you need to see. It could just be whatever is at the end of that verb stem. But if it's a second conjugation verb, you're always going to see this E in front of an O, so that can help you double check. Also, I like to think the long E, the E with the macron, is a strong E, and therefore it comes before the short and weak E of third conjugation. Now, when the infinitive ends in short ERE, it's a third conjugation verb. But if you look at the first principal part, if there's an I in front of the O, that's your clue that it belongs to a special subgroup called third IO. And it's important that we be able to recognize these separately from just regular third conjugation verbs, because although they're third conjugation and they sometimes follow rules like any other third conjugation verb, most of the time they actually act like fourth, so they're kind of a wannabe fourth conjugation verb. And sure enough, when you get to fourth conjugation, you will always see an I in front of its O as well. If the verb you're looking at doesn't follow exactly into one of these combinations, it's what we call irregular. Some examples of that are some SF. You'll see it ends in M instead of O, and it doesn't even have an RE at all. It has SE. All compounds and verbs that are related to some esse, like odsum, obsum, and possum, are also irregular. Another tricky irregular verb, where it's hard to identify the conjugation, is eo-ira. Often people see the EO and think, oh, it's second conjugation. And then they see the long IRE and go, oh, it's fourth conjugation. In fact, it's neither. It's irregular. It doesn't follow the verb steps for forming present tense of second conjugation or fourth. It doesn't follow those rules too closely, and it's irregular. You just have to memorize the weird forms. So watch out for those in particular. They can be hard to recognize. And that's how you identify the conjugation of a verb, by looking at its dictionary definition.